What do you think of the proposal for the Talladega shark fin on the windshield? Like, do you think that
It travels fast, doesn't it?
maybe?
Yeah.
Are you hopeful that would? Do you feel comfortable that could help keep you guys on the ground?
Well, I mean, obviously, NASCAR has something they put together, and are interested in running it. Obviously, there's data to prove that it's going to be an improvement. So it's just more about do you introduce things in the middle of the playoffs after an entire season? Do you does it make the cars look different than what the fans would expect? It's hard to say. There's a lot of decisions to be made, and I can't say I've seen much other than a few pictures and a few bits of data. So I think there's a lot of politics, not just data, that go behind making those decisions.
I think Kansas has the excuse me. You think Kansas has the qualities as a championship race?
I think it's always puts on a good race. I mean, the restarts here are crazy. I've always really liked coming here. So it's obviously a pretty big sports town as well. I enjoy going to Kansas City, and we've been here for almost 3 days now. So due to the weather at home, but I see no reason why I couldn't.
Confidence-wise, it's got to be an all-time high. The last 5 races, statistically, has been the best run of your Cup career. Where are you feeling mentally now, and what do you have to do in this round to continue that momentum to get to that championship, or stay the round of 8, but push towards the championship?
Yeah, I mean, not to give you an exceptionally boring answer, but my mentality is, about the same as what it's been, from my streak of worst Cup races. So, it's hard to say. I mean, trusting the process, trusting the team, and trusting things got you here as far as what gets us to the next round. I feel like we at the bare minimum have to do exactly what we did the past round. Even from a number standpoint, that backs up that statement that that'll probably be the minimum amount of points gained that I'll need to be able to make it to the round of 8.
And over the stretch, what is it that you've learned really that's kind of helped your success?
It's 3 races, pretty small data point.
It's been basically 4 months since you guys even raced on a true 1.5 mile track back in May, and you guys didn't even get to finish that race because of rain. So how do you feel about your 1.5 mile program going, since you got 3 of those tracks in the playoffs? Yeah,
I think this weekend's a great test. I'm standing here before the second round of qualifying, so not like jumping out of my shoes here, but at the same time, I think there's been a long gap, like you mentioned, between intermediate races, like true intermediate 1.5 mile races, and we got a few of those coming up in a very important round of the playoffs. So I think this will be a true test for everybody in the field, kind of where their development's taking them.
Of the 3 tracks, this, Vegas, and Homestead, which do you prefer?
I'd say historically Kansas has been a pretty good track for me, so I think this weekend is definitely has potential to be one of our better ones.
We heard Briscoe say earlier that because he's the only Stewart-Haas guy in, that might give him an advantage. Everyone pours all their resources in that one car. All 3 Penske cars are in. Do you feel that presents any challenges? Are you guys still working together? How do you feel the whole team is prepared?
Yeah, I think the team, in a lot of ways, people have asked me about this, and whether if it's, Penske takes a step up in the playoffs and that narrative, and we don't, as a group, we don't change a whole lot. I don't think the seriousness around the shop isn't really a ton different, because I think that's the expectation. It is to have all the cars in the playoffs. It is to be contending for a championship and winning races. So I don't think there's a hunker down, we have something to take advantage of. It's kind of business as usual, honestly, in the shop. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but as far as the spread of resources or not, I can't speak for another race team whether if they're having to spread resources thin for one car or another, but as far as I'm concerned, all 3 cars have a great shot to go move on to the next round.
At Bristol, at Walkinson, we were talking about the Bristol tire and how logically it wasn't going to make sense to why would this happen, and then it turned out that it reverted to the original anyway. So having thought about it, I guess, for a few days, what do you make of that now? Was it the same tire? Was there a chance that it's a different compound that everybody just thought was the same? What happened?
My expert opinion is that I would have a hard time believing a 15-20 degree temperature swing would create that drastic of a difference at a place to where we've ran that much, in the past. Our Bristol race looked like every Bristol race I've ever run in my life. And Bristol races prior in the next gen car. So, and Bristol races prior with the same tire code, So I have none of the answers, but certainly as many questions as everybody else. But one data point out of all the rest being an outlier, I think there's a lot to be learned there, and unfortunately, the teams and drivers are not in control of that.
And is that frustrating because here, it's a playoff race? There's these mini seasons. You guys are showing up with an expectation of how it's going to be. You're told it's going to be a certain way, and once you get there, it's pretty tough to undo some of the setup stuff you've done, and then that's helping decide people's playoff fate.
No different than introducing aero bits and body panels on a car at Talladega. So I think anytime you're introducing something new and you don't have the opportunity to adjust for it. I mean, yeah, do we have a 45-minute session at Bristol to adjust for or understand if we're going to have tire wear or not have tire wear? Yeah, but okay, we didn't. I'd say I'd put us in the boat of teams that were really expecting there to be some significant and severe tire wear, and there wasn't. And I think we paid a penalty for it, albeit we had plenty of points and raced well, and we just qualified terrible at a place where you can't qualify terrible, and some days you can't recover from that. So, I think during this part of the season especially, I mean, we only have a handful of races left. If there are things to learn, things to apply to next season, yeah. But, you have to be really careful about how to affect basically 30 weeks of work.
For the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Gonna go straight to questions. We'll start with Jeff Gluck.
So when you come here, even though before you get in your car, you're like, I'm running the top of qualifying, I'm committing to that no matter what my car feels like.
100%. Yes, there's not a question in my head of what lane I'm going to run qualifying. So there's a lot of things to be determined. Where I position my car on the racetrack it's pretty set in stone. That's where it's going to be for sure.
So why is it that concrete for you?
So I was fortunate enough to do the tire test. I think it was the tire test for the next gen car here at Kansas. And whenever I came here, we had abundance of tires, and I was able to back-to-back running down, running middle, running high. And it was pretty clear that the top was the fastest lane. And I remember coming here for the first next gen race in 2022, it would have been the spring of 22. I think I was the first guy to qualify on the top, and it was just from the experience that I had at that tire test. So it's a unique racetrack. All the other places that we go and you run high on older tires, but Kansas is like the one place where you can run high and make lap time on new tires as well. And I think it's just the progressive banking that this place has in it, and yeah, it's fast for whatever reason.
Thanks.
Bob next.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. A couple of questions. First, how do you translate this pole into a win this time?
Well, I haven't done it yet, so I don't know. Kansas has been a weird track for us because we come here and we obviously qualify really well. But it seems like over the course of the long run, I just haven't had what I need to compete with the best cars. And we're consistently good. We finished top 10 a lot. We're on the verge of top 5. But certainly every race since the next gen introduction, we haven't been the winning car here. So with that being said, we haven't left here and said we hit it perfect either. So I think a little bit of car work and me working on myself as a driver, and hopefully I can continue to improve and drive better tomorrow than I have in the past year, and we can have better results. So it's a tricky racetrack because the top is so fast, but your balance changes throughout the course of the run so much that you have to move around and you can't be committed to the top. It's honestly a little opposite of Homestead, where Homestead you kind of run down and you migrate to the wall. Here at Kansas, it seems like you can start at the wall, and then as the run goes, you're gonna move around and get away from it whenever your balance starts to change.
So you have a winning car. Is there any reason why we shouldn't pick you to win?
There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't pick me, Bob. I can go down the list. So, yeah, but I feel good. I feel good, and certainly in practice, it felt different. I felt really comfortable in the car here. Most of the time, I haven't felt comfortable over the course of the long run. So, I don't know. It is Kansas, and there are certain couple guys that are always going to be up front. But hopefully tomorrow is the day that the 20 cars up front.
We'll go to Lee next.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. Short of putting bubble wrap around the 20 car, what can you do to protect yourself next week at Talladega?
When this week? That's a great question, and they're really there really is no hiding, although it does feel like the fall Talladega race has been a lot calmer than the spring race the last couple of years. So I don't know, super speedway racing, I've been very vocal, it's not my favorite style of racing, and that puts a lot of emphasis on this race tomorrow to try and get some stage points. Obviously winning would be ideal, but certainly going to Talladega with the big cushion is our number one goal.
If you were at the driver's meeting this morning, did you leave there with anything that might give you a little bit of, I don't know, more sense of security going in there next weekend?
No. They're obviously talking about potential changes. Nothing's been confirmed yet. But whatever the changes aren't going to change the fact that, the Toyotas haven't qualified well. We're likely to not qualify well, which means it's going to be tough to score stage points in stage one. Nothing's going to be earth shattering. We kind of know what to expect going into Talladega and Daytona. So I don't see any big changes on how the race plays out.
We'll go to Daniel next.
Thank you. Daniel McFadin, Frontstretch.com. It's been windy this weekend. I think it usually is here, but I was curious, how differently does the wind affect the next gen car compared to what the old car, especially at a track like this?
I don't know. These things are just way more on edge than the old cars were. The old cars, you could slide them around and catch it. So you just have to be more mindful of what the wind's doing to your car. And definitely today, the balance was pretty split. 1 and 2, I think everybody was fighting pretty tight in 1 and 2, and then you get to 3 and 4, and it's a lot looser. So you just have to be careful, because this thing is just a knife's edge, where the other car, even if you were tight, and you slide the front tires, it wouldn't take off on you, So this car, everything about it is just, you have to be a lot more precise and cautious driving it.
Caleb next.
Stephen Stumpf of Frontstretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.